dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And you're back on Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio American Network. I remain your host, Mark Angelides, and we're continuing our conversation with a long-time host of this here radio show and Liberty Nation's senior political analyst. They're one and the same person, Mr. Tim Donner. Thanks for sticking around, Tim.
Always good to be here and carry on with our fascinating conversation, at least fascinating to you and me.
It's an 8-year conversation we've been having here, Tim, about polling. It shows no signs of stopping just yet. So for those listeners who have just tuned in, we are talking polling on this special edition show. Liberty Nation has its brand new The Public Square polling launching this weekend. It's great for data, information, graphics, everything you need, plus analysis in one place. Please do check that out on the pages of libertynation.com. Earlier in the show, we were talking Donald Trump's approval rating, which is the big kahuna of the polling world, I think. Even when he's out of office, it's the big kahuna. But Tim, let's get a little more granular and let's talk about the 2026 generic congressional vote. So what that is for people who don't squander their lives following politics and polling like Tim and I. What that essentially is we have the 2026 midterms coming up next year. Which party are you voting for, Republican or Democrat? That's the question. And what are the results, Tim?
Well, I would argue that midterm elections during the era of Donald Trump are more volatile than any in my lifetime because of the fact that midterm elections, by their definition, are grievance elections. Midterm elections are those in which the people who don't like what happened 2 years before, who don't like the incumbent, who don't like the party in power, will show up in greater numbers. And, you know, the Trump people, Trump voters have been largely kind of fat and happy since not only Trump won, but the Republicans won control of both the House and the Senate. So they've been kind of fat and happy and quite satisfied with how Trump has performed. But the grievances on the other side are, of course, legendary, as most epitomized by the 3 assassination attempts, 2 on Trump and then the successful one against Charlie Kirk. So, I mean, the party out of power generically has a huge advantage in midterm elections because the people that are dissatisfied, what do? People that are angry, they vote. People that are satisfied don't tend to vote as much. But it's also true that the Republican Party, with Donald Trump on the ballot, as in presidential election years, is a totally different animal than the Republican Party where Trump is not on the ballot. The Republican Party writ large, if you stripped Trump away from it, who knows how popular they might be. But I think that I'm not surprised that Democrats have a slight advantage in the generic ballot. And I'll tell you the truth, if they can win control of at least one of the branches of Congress in 2026, they are in even deeper trouble than we thought they were.
Yeah, very much so. So the just to give a number to that, the average is about 3% up across the board. Now, there's a couple of caveats there, Tim, that I think we should go into. One is that these polls, they're conducted spread across the country.
Okay.
So, and the second part there, Tim, is that in the last set of midterms, 2022, Democrats really had this major cudgel with which to beat their own voters and to try and scare off Republican votes, I guess. And that was the overturning of Roe v. Wade, made possible by Donald Trump's nomination of 3 Supreme Court justices during his first term. And I'm wondering, do they have a specific political weapon of the same vein that can be employed for 2026? Or is it just going to be a general throw it all against the wall and see what sticks?
Well, midterm elections, in addition to being grievance elections, they're also issue elections much more than presidentials. So the Dobbs decision overturning Roe versus Wade was a very animating factor in 2022. Trump wasn't on the ballot, nor was Biden. It was an issue election. And thus, it's not surprising that the Democrats came so close to, taking control of the House. And Joe Biden would have been wise to quit then while it was ahead, but that's a different discussion. The mistake that the Democrats made was to think that the Dobbs decision, the abortion issue, would carry over effectively from 2022 to 2024, which led them to a totally woman-based campaign at the expense of the male vote. And we all saw how that turned out. The vote among men was a sword right through the heart of the Democratic Party. So I don't see an issue right now that the Democrats can hammer on a single issue. But I do see where if we are facing a possible recession or inflation again rears its ugly head, or Trump, ventures into a disastrous military engagement. Those are prospective things that will get voters to the polls and vote against Republicans. But none of that stuff is true right now. Unlike in 2022, when you knew that Republicans were girding their loins for the blowback against the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
We'll be watching the weather vanes. Audience, don't go anywhere. We'll be back talking more polling after this short break.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.